This is the Skagit River. I spoke about that just now. It is another great resource for endless amounts of fresh water. And then there is hunting allowed. If you do hunt, you can hunt in our recreation area during the season permitting, and you get more information on that in our visitor center. So, running from these guys when they invade, the Space Needle is not one of the places I would recommend hiding because, you know, once you're up, you're not allowed to come down, and they're not. You just won't be able to escape. Going up in one way is a terrible idea. You're going to have to keep running. Mountains provide a lot of land and resource. We have over 400 miles worth of trails in the park, and over 130 backcountry camping sites. Some are just within 3-4 miles from right here, just hiking in to down Thunder Creek. So this should not be your backup plan for the zombie invasion. Granted, Seattle does have quite the number of vegetarians. I don't believe that they're going to be craving grains after the zombie apocalypse starts. This should also not be your only safety survival plan. Yeah, it does work well though if you're in bear country. Yes, that's fantastic. He's got the shirt. So this is applicable for bears. You don't have to be faster than a bear, but you just have to be faster than the slowest person in your group when running from a predator. Also not advised. So having a good zombie attack survival kit. What are some of the things we're going to need in a survival kit, preparedness kit? How about a good first aid kit? Is that something you would normally think of? A lot of people jump to weapons and stuff, but really the problem with thinking about what you learn from zombie movies is completely wrong. No one ever gets caught by zombies because they have a blister or they ran out of water and are dehydrated or they have diarrhea. Those are all common things when you're in the backcountry that you need to prepare for. And having a good first aid kit is important. Now, how many of you guys came camping and brought a first aid kit? Okay, good. Now put your hands down, and now who didn't bring a first aid kit? Raise your hand. You can be truthful. I'm not going to call you out over there. So it's really good to have a first aid kit, even a basic one. You can buy prepared ones, kind of like this one, from many major distributor outlets, REI or even Adventure Medical Kits make great ones. But it's essential, especially when you live out here. If you're going over passes and stuff, especially in the winter, some things you might want to consider, like majorly with the way that the temperature drops here, a space blanket. If you're out in the backcountry and you get wet or anything else happens, a space blanket's going to help you. They're the big shiny aluminum things that kind of look like what's decorated on space shuttles and stuff, and outer space and on satellites. And that's kind of the same material. It reflects the body heat back to you. So they're really good. So other things you might need, a good backpack, ice axes. If you're hiking up at higher elevations and you're going to go across snow fields here, it's really good to have an ice axe because if you start falling and sliding during a snow field, you can dig the ice axe down real fast and it'll slow you to a halt pretty quickly. Depending on how fast. Quickly is a subjective term. 20, 30 feet is usually what it'll take to slow down. These are guys fixing to hike up Cascade Pass. That's one that I actually didn't mention. Cascade Pass is actually the only part of the North Cascades National Park that you can drive in. Like earlier I mentioned that we're all along Highway 20, we're in the recreation area. Technically speaking, you're not in the national park boundary proper. If you go back out to Marble Mount, about 14 miles from here, and then take Cascade River Road over the bridge, the sign says to Stehekin. You can't actually drive to Stehekin. I'm sorry to report, mountains get in the way. But 21 miles down there is Cascade Pass, this beautiful glacial basin, and an amazing hike. So some other things you're going to need. Food. Food is really important. If you're out hiking all day and out in the backcountry for multiple days on end, you're going to need portable food. Now, canned beans and canned foods aren't very good. Now, tactical bacon, though, is pretty light. It works really well, and this is good for, I believe, about 11 to 14 years. So I should probably try to use it before that date. Yeah, if you're out what I like to think about this is it's always good to have something sweet and something savory. Usually it helps me get my energy back up. And if you're really depressed and sad about, a flesh-eating horde of zombies coming after you, what better way to refresh yourself than tactical bacon or a good piece of dark chocolate? Yeah. Those are the things I like to bring up in the field. Water, like I mentioned earlier, the one thing they don't show, and talk about in a zombie film is water. People never die of dehydration in zombie films, but it's one of the more common things. If you're on the run and trying to get out here, you're going to need to have an adequate water supply or water source. And you can't bring so many gallons of jugs, or you can only bring so many gallons. But if you're escaping into the backcountry, you need to pack lighter. This is a great example of an all-in-one system called the Lifesaver. You put that down in the water, and you just fill it up, and then you squeeze it a few times. The filter's inside here, and it filters the water for you. This was done, an image from after he pulled the water out of a swamp. And so it went from being very dirty green to nice crystal clear and free of giardia. That's one of the other reasons you may not realize, even though these are glacially fed rivers and streams, you don't just want to stick your face in the water and start slurping away. You never know what's upstream or whom might be doing what upstream. So it's really important to have a good water filter on you. This is another great example. This is the jerry can style. They use this, the military, and NATO uses these, and as well as the Red Cross in parts of Africa and Southeast Asia, places where fresh water isn't so abundant. I saw a video where they stuck this in a mud puddle, thick with clay and other nasty stuff, and turned the water crystal clear after they suck it through. It's all in one. It's got the filter and the pump in there. That's good for over 10,000 gallons for each filter. So some other things that you're going to want to have in a good survival kit and backcountry kit, a good knife, a compass. A map and compass are essential. Now, how many of you guys came into our visitor center today or stopped at a kiosk and got a map of the park? Smart. If you're going to go hiking, it's good to have a map. I recommend, we also carry the National Geographic maps. Oh. We have the National Geographic maps in the visitor center that are printed on plastic, so they're pretty much waterproof, which is great. However, I don't recommend accidentally keeping them sitting next to your fire, because I have melted mine before. So, FYI. And speaking of fire, you need a couple of different sources in case your lighter backs up, or fails. You need to have some good backups. You've got different waterproof matches in a waterproof container, emergency candle, some gauze and kindling. Then a couple of different sources for light. So headlamps and lanterns work great. Even something just this small as a little button LED are going to help you out. And I always like to recommend a good multi-tool. For some of the other things. This is kind of an example of an all-in-one pocket survival pack. I like to build all of my stuff just like the first aid kits, so I know what is in them and what I need and don't need, and familiarize myself with it. Now, how many of you guys know about the 10 essentials? Wow, that's not a lot of people. So it's basically a list of all the essential things you're going to need in disaster or even camping. It really comes in handy just front country camping. So things like first aid, water, copies of documents, and that sort of thing. I've got a great resource list at the end of it. But the 10 essentials and all of this equipment does you no good if you don't know how to use it. So that's one thing you really need to sit down and think about and prepare for. So